So this video is all about sanctity of life, abortion and euthanasia. They're all linked together, so I'm going to deal with them in that way. So if you get asked to describe Catholic views on sanctity of life, now that means why life is holy, belongs to God, created by God, that sort of thing, right? So let's go with it. So the reason why we are sacred or holy is the fact that we have been created by God. It's taught in the creation story. Simple. Next one, okay, the fact that we are sacred is the fact that God has given us all a plan, okay, to follow. In the Old Testament, it says, I know the plans I have for you, okay? So you can say this is taught in the Old Testament. We've all been given a plan to follow. Next one is the fact that we belong to God and only God can decide when we die, okay? So you can say in the Old Testament teaches there's a time to live and a time to die, all right? That was sort of does even say about the fact that our souls return to God, that sort of stuff, tells us that we belong to God. Only He decides when we die. All life is sacred. Protect it. The next one is that we've all been made, it was called in the image and likeness of God. It's a quotation there. It was called, it's sort of within that. So therefore, if we're in the image and likeness of God, that we should protect ourselves. Our lives are worth it. Okay, they're worthwhile. The next one is the fact that God has forbidden us from murder, so we shouldn't take life. We're 10 commandments, thou shalt not kill. The next one is that what's called God is within us, so we should protect that, okay? You would say that God breathed life into Adam, or that we are vessels of the Holy Spirit. All of those things say that life is sacred. Now, pick any of those points, okay? Any of those points, and when it comes to the therefore section on the explain, then just say, therefore Catholics reject abortion, therefore Catholics reject euthanasia, therefore doing that type of idea, okay? Therefore Catholics think that murder is an awful sin and crime and should be punished, that type of thing, all right? Support laws that are in favour of protecting life. There we go, lovely jubbly, easy peasy. Now the Jewish view on the sanctity of life is essentially identical, okay? You just say the same thing. The fact that Jews believe that life is sacred is made by God, link it to Genesis. Therefore, all right, talk about the fact they reject euthanasia and they reject abortion, or doing generally all of those things. Make sure you say generally, okay, rather than every Jew, okay, because there is some slight variation. The next one is the fact that you can say about Jews believe that life is sacred, and the reason for that is that they believe that God is within us. God breathed life into Adam is the quote for that one. And also you can say the fact that God decides when we live and die, okay, not us. Thou shalt not kill. Time to live, time to die. Therefore, against euthanasia, all that type of stuff, all right? When it comes to sort of like the humanist view, right, if you've got to sort of, when it comes to sanctity of life, you say the humanists don't believe life is sacred. Why? They don't believe that we were created by God. So therefore, humanists are far more likely to sort of be pro-choice regarding abortion or doing support euthanasia, that type of thing. When it comes to what's called to this as well, though, that doesn't mean that humanists don't care about life. All right, they believe that it's valuable, it should be protected, that type of thing. All right, and this is because you only live once, so you should make the most of that life, and it means you protect it so that you are able to make the most of it. All right, so it should be treasured and valued. So therefore, right, they think if you are going to go with abortion or euthanasia, that can't be a snap decision. Doing with abortion, it can't be a form of contraception. It's got to be. It's got to be a choice that you feel comfortable with and you've really thought about. Another view that's sort of like against life being sacred is the fact that there's a lack of evidence for it, okay? When it says about being vessels of the Holy Spirit or that we have a soul, well, there's been sort of exploratory surgery, there's most different stuff, nobody's ever found a soul, all right? You don't say life isn't sacred because if it's created by God, then why did He create us to do evil things? That sort of idea, okay? And the sort of causing evil, suffering. So therefore, they would say that life isn't sacred and wasn't made by God. Now then, two big topics, abortion and euthanasia. Now, Catholic views when it comes to abortion, all right, that what you would say is that Catholics don't allow it, all right, and the reason for this is that they believe life begins at conception. Don't say contraception, that means life begins at a condom, okay, don't make that mistake. So they believe that life begins at conception, all right, so when the egg is fertilized, so they would see it as being murder, okay? Another reason why they're against abortion is they believe all life is sacred. Why? Created by God, so therefore they're totally against abortion. Next one, Catholics believe that all people have a right to live, okay? So and the reason for this is because God's created us all with a plan, that sort of idea, so we've got to make sure that we allow that plan to come into fruition, come into play. Next thing is that they believe that we should campaign against it being, it was called, allowed in the UK. And the final one is that they support charities such as SPUC, the Society for the Protection of the Unborn Child. So if it was a described question, focus on all those things. There is one other, sorry, I do apologise, that sometimes they apply the doctrine of double effect to abortion. So if a mother has cancer, that they would allow her to receive chemotherapy. The reason for this is that it allows, what's called, the action is to save life. The double effect, the consequence is that it would end the life of the fetus because the chemotherapy would attack it as if it was a tumour. Okay, so that's sort of, they do that. That does not mean they support abortion. They support trying to save life, that they accept the fact that the double effect might cause the fetus to die. So if you get asked what's called the Catholic view on this, just focus on, I would say the key points to really focus on: life is sacred, begins at conception, so therefore it's murder. Okay, so that's sort of the first key point. I would then be talking about the doctrine of double effect in my second paragraph to really generate those high marks. Jewish views on abortion, really similar. Okay, what I mean by that is that the main view says that the fetus, what's called life, is sacred, should be protected, created by God. Only God decides when we live and die, time to live, time to die. So therefore, generally, they're against abortion, support what's called anti-abortion charities, that type of stuff, right? However, some Jews do accept that there are times when abortion may take place, okay? So as long as it is what's called before 41 days, okay? And the reason for this is that the mother might not be able, what's called, to provide for that child. They believe that before 41 days that essentially it's just sort of water when it's in that zygote stage. You could also say that the fact that it could be that the mother's life's at risk, so they should prioritise her life, that type of idea, okay? But therefore, they don't think this is an easy decision or a light decision to make. They would say that you should speak to your rabbi before making that decision, all right? And when it comes to the humanist view or non-religious view on it, okay, humanists believe that abortion is fine, is morally acceptable, okay, and they support the law. Why? They don't believe life is sacred or that type of thing, and most of them believe life begins with a birth, or when the law says 24 weeks. So therefore, they would probably be part of the pro-choice movement. Next thing is that we should be allowed to make our own decisions, you would say that, but we shouldn't make it as, it shouldn't be a light decision, it shouldn't replace contraception, that type of stuff. All right, so these tech sort of thing. Another sort of view on this, some non-religious people believe that a fetus is a potential life, so still valuable, so this shouldn't be a decision you sort of take lightly. And you can also say what's called that some liberal Catholics or liberal Christians say that maybe abortion is the right choice. Why is this? Well, if the mother's been raped. If the mother's been raped, then she should be allowed the opportunity to end the life of the fetus, because that would be a loving action. Having to raise that child would be horrendous, really tough thing to have to do in some people's eyes, and they would say that that fulfills Jesus' teaching to love thy neighbour. All right, so therefore they might argue that actually this could be acceptable in this sort of circumstance if the mother had been raped. So it's a cheery sort of way to end talking about abortion. All right, and now let's move on to the other cheery topic of euthanasia. So Catholic views on euthanasia, okay? They think that it is murder, so it's not allowed, right? Breaks the 10 Commandments. Next one, they believe life is sacred, a gift from God. Only He decides when we live and die, okay? So you can say about the fact that the teaching, all life is sacred, vessels of the Holy Spirit, and the quote, time to live, time to die, for those 2 points. We've all been made in the image and likeness of God, so therefore, all life is sort of valuable. We're supposed to reflect God, and do you know what? We should value that rather than end it. The next one, God is within us. We're vessels of the Holy Spirit. Breathe life into Adam. We should protect that, not try and sort of end that. What you can also say, though, is that Catholics sometimes apply the doctrine of double effect. So they will allow somebody to receive painkillers to shorten their life, but not end it, okay? Make sure you remember that. The action is to reduce pain. It's a loving action. The double effect is that it would shorten the life, but not end it. Only God can do that, remember. Another sort of thing, say Catholics promote palliative care and hospices. And they believe that what's called the time when the person's dying is sort of a time that can bring people together. So they would say, look, that's what we should do. We should support the person through that, okay? And you can say Catholics do not believe that turning off a life support machine, that's another sort of top thing you could mention here. They don't see that as euthanasia, all right? And you can say that any treatment that is sort of like, that is disproportionate or extraordinary, or in our sort of terminology, that is keeping them alive, turning off that machine, the thing that's keeping them alive is a fine thing to do, okay, is an acceptable thing to do, and it's not euthanasia. So